This week's episode of the Macchia Show is brought to you by Word of the Day. Today's word of the day is reticent. It means inclined to be silent or uncommunicative in speech, reserved, restrained, or reluctant. Used in a sentence, he was boisterous when he drafted his fantasy football team, but reticent after they took a dump in week one. Shout out my squad, neighbors selling dope. Neighbors think I'm selling dope. Coming back strong, week two. What's up, friends? Welcome back to the Guy Macchia Show, and I want to start with a story. I was 3.5 years old, and my preschool teacher, Miss Dot, RIP, told my mom I had zero endearing qualities and would never endear myself to another human being as long as I lived. That's a direct quote. That's fucking harsh. RIP, Miss Dot, but I mean, come on, man, that was fucking ruthless. But look at me now, just spreading my guts to the internet, hoping for endearment. Miss Dot, I hope you would be proud. And somebody asked me this week, what do I want people to feel when they tune into the Guy Macchia show? And that's exactly what I want them to feel. I want them to feel as if I've endeared myself to them so much so that they come away feeling like a more complete human being, understanding that I'm sharing the only thing that I could possibly share that they would empathize with, which is that I'm a human being also having an experience on this floating rock. And that experience is so absurd and bizarre that it can only be laughed at, appreciated, and loved and taken with a grain of salt and a smile and grace. And so hopefully that's what this show and this episode will continue to do. And I feel like the best way to do that is through storytelling. So I'm going to share with you, I'm going to make myself vulnerable, shocker, and tell you about when I was a bully. Oh, yeah, a big one, maybe the biggest ever. Years later, actually, before I get into any of that, when I was about 30, so like 3 years ago, my mom would share with me that I was selected for an elementary school social experiment when I was in third, fourth grade. They had picked a handful, a hodgepodge of interesting characters, and I did not realize that I was selected to play the bully role. So they had the artsy kid, the kid in chorus, they had the mathematic kid, the athlete, the pretty girl, the jock, and the bully. And I'm not really sure what the results of that experiment were, but I'm sure somewhere some accumulation of teachers was wondering what the hell I turned out to be. And here I am, Dr. Wood. What up? Was in your office all the time. I don't know if you're still alive, but if you are, I hope you're proud of me. We had a lot of beef back in the day, but I forgive you. And I guess I'll take it back to a preschool, my first preschool bully situation, which was offering a girl a knuckle sandwich. Not exactly sure what led to the spat, but shout out, you know who you are. Still an inside joke between us to this day when I see her. I think she's got a couple kids now. Hope you're doing well. Um, taking it forward, I used to give everybody hell. There was one kid who crapped his pants on the bus in kindergarten and raised his hand and asked if he could go to the bathroom because he made poo in his pants. That was a mistake because I took that and ran with it for as many years as I could. So much so that in sixth grade, not entirely because of me, everybody kind of bullied this kid, but he would go on to kind of write this mini manifesto and he would throw me through a window in his mini manifesto in sixth grade. And my name wasn't blanked out because it's a proper noun, Guy. So I was the only one. Shout out. I know what happened to me. Hope you're doing well, brother. Not sure where you are, but apologies for making the first third of your life, first tenth of your life, pretty brutal. And then that brings me to first grade, where my mom had to bribe me with Pokemon cards. I would get a pack of Pokemon cards every single time I didn't get a phone call home. Every week I didn't get a phone call home. That's how frequent phone call homes were for me. And what was I doing at the time? At the time, then let me fast forward second grade. I remember sitting in my second grade teacher's class, and she instructed us to open up our books to whatever page, and I didn't do it. And she was like, "Guy, I see you didn't open up your page. Like, why is that?" And I was like, "Because it's a free country." And I'm not sure where I heard that, but my dad didn't give a fuck because he was pissed. And I didn't say that again to any more teachers. Around that time, I also probably fast forward to now third, fourth grade. I accidentally got my feet tangled with this girl. She had called me gay while I was on the swing set. I didn't like that. In one motion, I swing off the swing set, start running after her, catch up to her on this hill, feet get tangled. I got a little suspension. That wasn't my finest hour. I pegged a ball at the back of a kid's head, a basketball, after he turned his head. He deserved that, I think. Um, the only time I ever didn't get in trouble was when I had a French horn lesson. I had to make up a mandatory French horn lesson at lunch. I was pissed. Yeah, I played the French horn. Say something about it. And because I was taking this French horn lesson, all of my other friends happened to get into a little altercation with this girl who had a flat Stanley doll. She was given by a pen pal. If you don't know what a flat Stanley doll, it's a piece of paper that has this dude painted on it. He's Stanley. I don't know what it represents, but anyway, you're supposed to carry it around. And my friends ended up ripping this flat Stanley doll. They all got in trouble. Thank God to my French horn, Miss Doherty. Thank you for putting up with me. The only time I didn't get in trouble. Um, and yeah, it was pretty much like that. That's just how it went. Sixth grade, getting suspended, throwing gum at a girl's head, phone calls home, being rambunctious. I'm going to chalk it up to the ADHD, undiagnosed. Thanks, parents. I appreciate that. Just letting me go through life trying to figure it out. And I did figure it out, but it was a slow burn, slow process. Um, I would say this is kind of funny and a little ruthless about how fucked up I was. There was a girl, and this must have been sixth grade now. I was taking the bus, a smaller bus, not the short bus, but a smaller bus to a camp, a summer camp that had all different recreational sports and recreations. And this girl was in woodworking while I was in the basketball camp. She was on my bus home, and her name was Kayla. And she had made some piece of wood and had ingrained Kayla like softball on it, to which I took and said, "Hey, everyone, look, Kayla likes softballs," and got the entire bus to sing Kayla likes softballs to the tune of The Yellow Submarine by the Beatles. Now, if you don't know what that sounds like, it sounds like Kayla has softballs and she sucks them all day long. Da-na-na-na. Kayla has softballs and she sucks, and you get the point. Again, not my finest hour. Kayla, I don't know where you are. Hope you're well. Apologies for being me. Um, and yeah, my bullying streak and my shittiness stretched on. It persevered into my 20s. I told a story about getting suspended from college in my first or second episode. Um, After I graduated from college, I got busted for having a fake ID and woke up in a drunk tank next to, which I believe was a transsexual man or woman who had painted her nails a certain color, and I blacked in to looking at this hand next to me, and I was like, "Nice nails." I didn't even look at them, and the person looks at me and was like, "Shut the fuck up." And I was like, "Mom, where the fuck am I?" Not my finest hour. Got expunged. Shout out to whoever the powers that be that hooked me up there. But the moral of all of this is that I was a little bit of a piece of shit. And I don't know why I was a piece of shit. I don't know where I inherited all these behaviors or this understanding of the world, but I lacked empathy. And I wasn't super endearing. It wasn't as bad as Miss Dodd had made it out to be, but I lacked empathy and compassion, and I wasn't as endearing as I needed to be. And the reason why I'm telling you all these stories is because hopefully it will help me endear myself to you when I share the moment where I think it all started to change a little bit, which was a bad mushroom trip with the boys. Oh, yeah, we're going here. Fast forward now a couple years after that arrest, I must have been around 24, and I go to upstate New York. Upstate, that's what the Long Islanders call anything north of Yonkers. We were in like White Plains, New York, and we were in a little quarry. Me and three college buddies were hiking this little park, ravine quarry area, and we had made peanut butter and shroom sandwiches. 10 out of 10, don't recommend. It's the worst way to ever administer mushrooms to yourself. The mushrooms just stick to the peanut butter and the bread, and you got mushroom and peanut butter in your teeth. It's terrible. Picking it out for a while. Don't do it. But the day was going really well. We were just fucking around, classic visuals, dick falling off jokes, saying Tom Brady a bunch, I remember. Yada da da. You know how it goes. And things all changed when we smoked a little bit of my buddy's homegrown weed, later nicknamed by us Devil Grass. And I was the catalyst who kicked off the bad trip. And I just remember a bird flying in the distance, not sure if it was real or not to this day, but it turns and it beelines towards my face. And after that, it was dark. I just remember the music that we were listening to, and everything kind of like turned gray. It felt like everything was just like getting progressively going and then it would die. Like the music was like do 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 crash along the same lines. The grass was like do 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 crash. Yeah, things were just not they were not pleasant. I felt very lost. And it was at about this time that I entered into what I would later call mental purgatory, which was this place where when I was daydreaming with my eyes open, I would envision myself walking through a familiar place from my childhood, a dream I had had, something like an abstract version of the street I had grown up on. And I would get to this point where I knew that I needed to make a right to get out of the maze. However, time and again, I would make a left. And when I would make that left, I would fall and fall and fall through time space for what felt like an eternity. I have no idea how long this went on for, but I remember being absolutely petrified. I remember not feeling like things were ever going to be the same. Like I was going to be trapped in this place. Like my decisions on that day had cost me my life. And it was very, very scary. And much to my surprise, at some point, I make a right and I pop out of this dream. And I'm like, I figured out the key to life. And it was about that time I watched a deer kind of cross my path, a real deer confirmed by my boys. And I had seen the freedom in this deer. And I had seen that that was really what life was all about. I had seen my character, this character that I had cultivated when I'm really just an animal, just like this deer. And if this deer had never been programmed or downloaded to be a bully or to be anybody, what would it be? Just a freaking deer, meandering around, eating, trying to stay alive, procreating, and that bad mushroom trip had really boiled things down for me. I emerged realizing that I had consumed or created this character, if you will, that was a little bit of a bully. And this was at a crossroads for me at this time because once I had this issue, this trip, I felt compassion for myself. And that compassion for myself led to me kind of having a conflict of character. Because here I was, this bully, this person who got people to laugh by making fun of other people, their faults and their ineptitudes. And I started to expose some of my own. And I didn't really know who to be at that point in time. Was I supposed to be a bully? Was I supposed to be showing people compassion? Was there a way that both could coexist together? And I think that's something I'm still trying to figure out for sure. But that bad mushroom trip taught me something important, which is my ego was enormous and needed destruction before salvation on this planet could be found. And I think one of the things that that day helped me do was kill my ego by helping me understand death. And I know that's a little bit of a morbid topic, but it's something that I think is important because I think up until that point, that was the thing I had feared most, dying. I had feared Guy Macchia, this super important entity no longer being who he is, not existing on this face of the earth, not being able to interact or impact the world at all. I just felt this overwhelming sense of importance, self-importance, false self-importance. And that bad mushroom trip taught me how much bigger the world was and is than me. And it also taught me that there are things far worse than your physical death. How about being alive physically, but being trapped in a mental purgatory, an inescapable loop that perpetuates itself? Have you seen that person? Have you seen that homeless person on the street? Is that not one of the scariest things you've ever seen? That person who just repeats obscenities as loud as they can and peers into your soul without any sort of understanding of what is actually truly real? That is fucking scary. But you know what's scarier? What's scarier is being trapped in a able body and an able mind, but not having the balls or conviction or gall to do the things that you feel called to, and being trapped in a character that you decide you need to be for whatever number of circumstances. That's the true hallmark of insanity. Being aware, but being trapped. And I was that person. And by the powers that be, the intervening powers that be, I was snapped out of this daydream, this malaise that I had wandered through for 24 plus years of my life. And my life really pivoted on that day. I always say that illicit drugs sometimes can bring the most memorable, potent moments of your life. And that was one of them for me. The day that I discovered compassion, compassion for myself, compassion for others. And I stopped at that time and had to really ask myself, who are you? Who do you want to be? What can you be? What's possible? And I started to grow from that moment. I started to put the pieces back together one by one after the infrastructure had been broken down. And I'm not a bully anymore. I mean, I might bully myself and my friends and family a little bit, but it's out of love and true compassion. It's not because I'm malicious. It's not because I'm trying to get a laugh, although I usually am. And I share all this with you because I hope that you take compassion on me and understand that we can't be judged in a vacuum. We are a sum of our lives and the decisions we've made, the things we've seen, the way we've adapted, the way we've adjusted, the way we've grown. That's how we assess a human life. And even in those moments of assessment, we're not judging, we're observing. We need to give ourselves and everybody around us grace. We are just meat suits, conscious meat suits that have all this overload of information and stimulation popping into that conscious sphere. And we have to do something with all that information. And that's a tall order. And I think a lot of people decide to sit on the sidelines. Maybe they don't have the equipment necessary, or maybe they just don't want to, and they take the easy route and they sit and they allow their ineptitudes or the things that they notice to pop in their heads and not do anything with them and just go with the flow. And that's okay. Because if they're happy, I'm happy for them. But if you're somebody that's getting messages, whether they be to be more fit or to be kinder or to give back or to spend your time better, not worry about money as much, all of those things, if you're getting those messages, they're messages. And you should do something with them. You should not just sit idly and allow them to eat away at you. And that's what I learned in my compassion endeavors over the past 10 or so years. So I hope something I said today was funny or resonated or allows you to feel a little bit better about the things that you're doing in the direction that you're headed. If not, I'll just go fuck myself. Anyway, this is GMAC, Guy Macchia signing off for another episode. Like, subscribe. Here's a half heart. Maybe you give me the other half somewhere on the other end. Hope you're having a blessed day. Love you.